Tennessee parted ways with Tim Banks, defensive coordinator, after 5 years. Brent Hubbs, it was a move that was being discussed amongst the fan base, since the end of the regular season. Obviously, the 2024 defense was elite. His defense got better up until that point. Big drop off this year, and here on a Monday morning or midday, you guys reported that Tennessee's parting ways with Tim Banks.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of Tennessee fans, it's been a talking point for 4 years. I mean, Tim Banks, unfortunately, was never really the most popular guy. I don't think that he got enough credit for what he did a year ago, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people were just over him and, for whatever reason, didn't like him or wanted to move on. But obviously this defense, Austin, did not perform to the level that it needed to perform at in 2025. And at the end of the day, I mean, Josh Heupel said in his release, he's got to do what's best for the program. He's got to do what's best to move forward, and felt like this was the move that he needed to make. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's never about who you fire. It's about who you hire, and we'll see where Josh Heupel goes from here. But I mean, Tim Banks' defense in 2024 is the reason they were a college football playoff team. But in 2025, they weren't where they needed to be, and that's the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, every year they had improved until this year. Every year, statistically, they had gotten better, and that's the mark of a team that's trending in the right direction. This year, they took a step back. You could talk about the lack of production in the secondary, whether it be the safeties they've recruited and developed, whether it be you could talk about the injuries with obviously losing Ricky Gibson a handful of plays into the season, not having Jermon McCoy at all, the Boo Carter, experiment disaster after the summertime stuff. Defensive line was not as active as it was a year ago, not as deep. They got after the quarterback really well early, but then kind of slacked off after about 5 games. And you're right. I mean, listen, for as long as I've been doing this and really back before then, like the defensive coordinator has never gotten a lot of praise. People got tired of Third and Chavis. They got mad at Chief. They got mad at John Jancic. They got mad at Bob Shoop. They got mad at whoever has been Tennessee's defensive coordinator over the last 25 plus years. And it's just a spot that I think sometimes it's a thankless position because I think fans expect, you to be Buddy Ryan and hold these teams to, minimal points. But, listen, it was just not good enough this year, period. And going into year 6, I think Josh Heupel could not stay with the status quo. And he decided to go in a different direction. Time will tell if that's proven to be right or not. We talked about it on our podcast a week or two ago that the next 9 months are pivotal because, Tennessee's not too far off the tracks. You make the right staff moves, you make the right portal moves, you could be right back there a year from now in the CFP. You make the wrong ones, and, it can go the complete opposite direction.
It's a good, not a lesson, but just goes to show you where, college football can change, on a dime. This is a guy that, again, had the elite defense a season ago, got a contract extension, was making a little over $2 million. Now is out a year later, separation pay. He's going to be getting paid a lot of money to go elsewhere. The question now is, guys, and I know we don't have all the answers right now, but everybody wants to know who's next. Give me all these different names. Is it just because Heupel knows them, or is it legit what you're hearing? What type of defensive coordinator to come in next? Brent, you've mentioned, Austin, you as well, that you guys believe this will go pretty quickly. That doesn't mean it's happening tonight. Doesn't mean it's happening at 8 a.m. in the morning. But for him to make this move away from Tim Banks on a Monday would lead to believe that he kind of has at least an idea of where he wants to go. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you better have an idea. I don't think you make these moves blindly as fast as things move out there with hiring assistants and things like that. I mean, I think you have to have a plan in place. And I think Josh Heupel has a working list of a couple of guys, 3 guys, and see where that leads him to. I don't know that there is just one absolute slam dunk that's the only one that you go get this guy and that's it. Or, I think Austin, if you're Josh Heupel, while everybody may be talking about one particular guy and Ryan Walters or whoever, I mean, you better do all your due diligence. You better look around. you better make sure because this is as you said earlier, this is a critical hire that Josh Heupel is making.
It is. You better be, crossing, all the T's, dotting all the I's, making sure you feel comfortable, because the facts are, this will probably make or break Josh Heupel, this hire. It's Josh Heupel's offense. We all know that. He always talks about that. So the offensive side of the ball is his. The defensive side of the ball, typically under Josh Heupel, it was Tim Banks, and it'll be whoever they hire in this next realm. Is it Ryan Walters? I mean, he's somebody that has ties to Josh Heupel, has ties to people on Tennessee's staff. That would make some sense. And so we'll see kind of where this thing goes. But he's a young guy who's had success at a number of different stops as a DC. The 1 year as a head coach didn't go so well, but that's okay. Not everybody's cut out to be a head coach. And Purdue at the time, in the NIL era, was a bit of a train wreck. So I don't think that was his fault either. So, again, we'll see where things go. But that one makes, when you're connecting dots, makes the most sense. And we'll see if anybody else gets heavily involved over the next 24 to 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, talking about Ryan Walters, of course, you mentioned head coach of Purdue for a couple of years, defensive coordinator at Missouri. Pretty good defense there. There was a crossover with Heupel as well at Oklahoma for a year or two, if I'm not mistaken. He's at Washington now. And again, not trying to back anybody into, a pigeonhole here or whatever, but any other names like a Walters that might make sense, given the ties, given the history with Heupel, or just given the history of the league and the longevity, or simply that these guys might not have jobs right now?
Well, everybody throws out Jim Knowles doesn't have a job right now. Where is he going to land? Now, he was making $3.2 million or whatever it was at Penn State. I don't think Josh Heupel has any knowledge or knows Jim Knowles in any way, shape, or form. I don't know that that's a direction they would go. The co-defensive coordinator at Alabama's name has kind of been floated out there as somebody that might be somebody that's looked at. The defense coordinator at South Carolina is another name that's kind of been floated around out there. But those are names being floated. I don't know that there's anything serious with anybody. And I don't know that there's anything, how serious anything might be with Ryan Walters at this point either. It's just he's the flavor of the night, if you will, or the flavor of Monday, because he's the one with the most ties. He was a GA at Oklahoma when Josh Heupel was on staff there. They worked together at Missouri. They were on the same staff there at Missouri. Seth Luttrell was at Oklahoma when Walters was there. Alec Ablin was at Missouri, right, Austin? When Walters was there. There are people kind of intertwined, not necessarily defensive coaches, but intertwined people with the Oklahoma background, the Missouri background that understands who Ryan Walters is. And that's the tie that everybody's kind of jumped on right now.
William Inge is the interim defensive coordinator, expected to call plays in Music City Bowl and handle the day-to-day responsibilities, throughout practice and all that. Austin, do you know if William Inge, could there be an in-house promotion? Would that be him? Do you think he's a candidate for this job right now, or do you know?
I personally do not believe that to be the case. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but I would be surprised if Josh Heupel was going to make a change and just promote from within. I think if he was going to make a change, he was going to go and try to go as big as he possibly could within his framework with what he wants from a DC to fit into his staff and his culture and his players. So yeah, I would imagine that this is going to be an outside hire. I would be pretty shocked if it wasn't.
We'll answer some questions here in a moment. We're making notes of some questions we'll get to. Brent, back to you. And again, you might not know this right now. Like, it's a different program. It's a different landscape than when Josh Heupel was first looking for a defensive coordinator back in the winter of 2021. What do you think he's looking for in a coordinator this go around? I mean, this is a team that's got lots of talent. It's a team that can win some games next year for sure. You look at Tennessee's well-resourced from a rev share standpoint, NIL standpoint. What do you think Josh Heupel, maybe X's and O's schematically, that he's looking for this time around in a defensive coordinator?
Well, I don't think you can go crazy. I mean, if you're not built to be a 3-4, you're not going to be a 3-4 defense. I think in this day and age, you got to play 5 defensive backs. So I don't think, I think that's part of what you look at too. So What I think he's looking for is I think he's looking for a guy who can tie it all together, that they can communicate better than they communicated this year, tackle better, some fundamental things that they're looking for there. I think is what Josh Heupel is looking for. They've obviously got to be more effective than they were. And I mean, Austin, Josh Heupel is better than I do, or as well as I do. I mean, he doesn't make decisions like this. He doesn't take a decision like this lightly. He's not one to make a change just for making a change. So we clearly felt like some things, not just this year, but I think even overall, that they have to be better at. They were. I mean, obviously, numbers wise, they were a really good defense in 2024. They didn't get off the field on third down at Georgia that year. They struggled on third down. They struggled with a lot of stuff against Ohio State in the playoff game. The reason they were in the playoffs, the defense was, but they were not perfect either. So I think he's looking for third down stops, get off the field. I think he wants to stay aggressive on defense and be an aggressive defense. But I think it starts with some of the communication issues that group had all year long at all three levels of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I've had multiple people talk to me about, are things just too complicated? And I don't know that, right? I mean, I don't know if they are or not, but I do think things are complicated and you don't communicate well, that's where things get sideways. And so the ability to get off the field, which they did really well a year ago, versus this year where they just struggled mightily, to me is big. And again, I think we're looking at fit here. Josh Heupel is big on the culture. He's big on the fit. And so who is that person? Again, from a pure, relationship standpoint, Ryan Walters makes the most sense. The question is does he want to go with just the comfortable hire? Even is the comfortable hire the best hire, or is it just the comfortable hire? Does he go outside and go with a non-comfortable hire that he feels like can take his program to the next level? Because he knows how important this. I mean, he's very aware of how important this hire is.
Well, and I think the other thing too in that group you got to add in there is development, player development. Where's that at? I mean, this is a defense that their better players have been transfer players, and there's nothing wrong with that. The portal's a real thing, but also continue to develop some your high school players at some positions, and they've had high school players make impacts. Don't misunderstand that. They do, but I think there's certain positions where they've been more portal heavy, where they need to be a little more, player developed and continue to grow and get better, and not just kind of piecemeal it with a 1-year player in the portal and things like that. I think those are things Josh Heupel is looking at as well.